Welcome to the Pursuit Chronicles, where hidden truths, bold journeys, and untold stories come to life. Get ready to chase the extraordinary. The Pacific sun cast a golden glow over Prestige Coastal Autos, a San Diego dealership where the world's most coveted cars gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Lamborghinis, Maseratis, McLarens, and Bugattis lined the marble floors, each a masterpiece of engineering with price tags that rivaled beachfront condos. Emily Harper pushed through the glass doors, her worn sneakers squeaking faintly. At 38, she wore a faded denim jacket, black leggings, and a plain gray hoodie, her dark hair swept into a messy bun. To the untrained eye, she looked like she'd stumbled into the wrong place, a tourist lost on her way to a coffee shop. But Emily was anything but ordinary. She was the founder of Harper's Haven, a non-profit that had transformed thousands of lives by providing tech education to underprivileged youth. Through relentless dedication, strategic grants, and quiet investments, she'd built a personal fortune, though her appearance gave no hint of it. She preferred the freedom of simplicity, dressing for comfort rather than clout. Today, Emily was on a mission. Her younger brother Liam had just landed his dream job as a software engineer after years of grinding through dead-end gigs. As kids, they'd fantasized about sleek convertibles, joking about cruising the coast with the top down. Liam's favorite was a silver drop-top, a car far beyond his means. Emily wanted to surprise him with it for his 30th birthday, a symbol of his resilience. She could pay cash without a second thought, but her unassuming outfit suggested otherwise. As she stepped into the showroom, her eyes locked onto a silver convertible, its curves glowing under pinpoint lights. Her heart lifted. This was the one. Across the polished floor, sales manager Greg Dalton adjusted his silk tie and scanned the room. At 42, he prided himself on reading people like open books. Flashy watches, tailored suits, designer handbags. Those were the signs of serious buyers. Spotting Emily, he smirked to his colleague Jenna, a junior salesperson in her early 20s. Lost her way from the thrift store, he muttered, already writing Emily off. He straightened his cufflinks and approached, his smile as practiced as it was insincere. "Good afternoon," Emily said, her voice warm but direct. "I'm interested in that silver convertible." She nodded toward the $320,000 limited edition model, one of only 20 produced worldwide. "Could you tell me about its features?" Greg's smile tightened, his eyes flicking over her hoodie, her scuffed sneakers, the absence of any visible wealth. "That's a very exclusive vehicle," he said, his tone laced with condescension. "It starts at well over $250,000. I'm not sure it's what you're looking for." He paused, letting the implication hang. "Our pre-owned lot is a few blocks away. More affordable options there." Emily's brow creased, but she held her composure. She'd faced snap judgments before. Her casual style often led people to underestimate her. "I'd like to know more about this one," she said politely. "Is it available for a test drive?" Greg let out a short, barking laugh that echoed across the showroom, drawing glances from two other salespeople polishing a nearby Maserati. "Test drives are reserved for serious buyers," he said, his voice loud enough to carry. "This isn't a joyride showroom, ma'am. Why don't you take a brochure and come back when you're ready to discuss something in your range?" He gestured toward the exit, his eyes already shifting to a well-dressed couple entering the showroom, their designer sunglasses glinting. "Excuse me," he said, brushing past Emily. "Jenna, get her a pamphlet or something." Jenna approached, her suit slightly ill-fitting, her expression apologetic. "I'm so sorry about that," she said quietly. "Would you like me to show you the convertible?" "Thank you," Emily replied, her voice steady despite the sting of Greg's dismissal. As Jenna walked her through the car's specs, its V12 engine, custom leather interior, and cutting-edge tech, Emily noticed Greg across the room fawning over the new couple. He opened the convertible's door with a flourish, inviting the woman to sit inside, saying, "This model's reserved for our elite clients, but I can make an exception for you." The same car he'd deemed off-limits to Emily. Her jaw tightened. Not from personal offense, she'd endured worse, but from the injustice of it. How many others had been dismissed like this, judged by their clothes or demeanor? "That's okay, Jenna," she said, her tone calm but resolute. "I've seen enough for now." With a polite nod, she left the showroom, the weight of the encounter settling like a stone in her chest. Outside, she pulled out her phone and dialed her best friend and business partner, Clara, a sharp-witted tech investor with a knack for turning problems into opportunities. "You won't believe what just happened," Emily said, a determined edge in her voice. "I need your help." The Harper estate perched on a quiet cliffside overlooking the Pacific, its sleek glass walls blending with the horizon. Inside, the living room was a haven of minimalist elegance, white sofas, a single abstract painting, and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the ocean. Clara, in her mid-40s with a no-nonsense bob and a tailored blazer, listened as Emily recounted the dealership ordeal over steaming mugs of coffee. "He laughed at me, Clara," Emily said, shaking her head. "Told me I was wasting his time because I wasn't dressed like his idea of a millionaire." Clara's eyes narrowed, her fingers tapping the armrest. "That's not just rude, it's idiotic. You could buy their entire lot and still have change for a yacht." "I know," Emily said, leaning back. "But it's not about me. It's about how they treat anyone they think doesn't belong. I've been underestimated before, and I can walk away knowing the truth. But what about people who don't have that privilege? I want to do something, but not for revenge. I want them to learn," Clara grinned, a spark lighting her eyes. "I love it when you get like this. Okay, remember that investor group we met at the conference last month? Marcus Reed owes me a favor, and he's got the kind of presence that shuts down rooms. Let's make this a teaching moment they'll never forget." They spent the afternoon strategizing, not for petty payback, but for a lesson in humility that would ripple through prestige coastal autos. By the time they finished, Emily felt a quiet satisfaction. This wasn't about proving herself, it was about changing perspectives. The next morning, the dealership hummed with its usual rhythm. Greg, in a tailored charcoal suit, was regaling a colleague with the hobo incident from yesterday, chuckling about the delusional woman in the hoodie. The showroom gleamed, its exotic cars arranged like sculptures under carefully angled lights. At precisely 10:45 a.m., a low primal roar silenced the chatter. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a Bugatti Chiron Supersport rolled to a stop, its black and gold finish shimmering like a panther in the sunlight. Valued at over $4 million, there was a car that commanded awe. Greg's jaw dropped. Even Victor Lang, the dealership's owner, emerged from his office, his usual composure faltering. A chauffeur in a crisp white uniform stepped out, opening the Bugatti's door with precision. Out stepped Marcus Reed, Clara's investor friend. At 45, Marcus was a study in quiet power, tall, impeccably dressed in a bespoke navy suit that whispered its 5-figure price tag, his salt-and-pepper hair perfectly groomed. His presence filled the room before he uttered a word. Greg practically sprinted to greet him, his smile wide enough to strain. "Good morning, sir. Greg Dalton, sales manager. Welcome to Prestige Coastal Autos. That's quite an entrance." Marcus regarded Greg with a cool, unreadable expression, offering a firm handshake. "Marcus Reed," he said simply. "I'm here about the silver convertible." Greg's grin widened. "An excellent choice, sir. One of only 20 made worldwide. Let me personally show you its features." "I know its features," Marcus cut in, his tone sharp but controlled. "My colleague was here yesterday inquiring about it. Emily Harper. You told her she didn't belong." Greg froze, his face draining of color. The name hit like a punch. I don't recall." "You do," Marcus said, his gaze unwavering. "You dismissed her based on her clothing, laughed at her in front of your staff, and suggested she try a used car lot." He turned to Victor, who'd approached, his expression a mix of confusion and dread. "Mr. Lang, I presume?" Victor nodded, forcing a smile. "Yes, welcome to Prestige Coastal Autos. I'm terribly sorry if there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Marcus said, his voice calm but cutting. "Miss Harper was treated with disrespect based solely on her appearance. I was prepared to purchase the convertible for my firm's charity auction, plus 3 additional vehicles for our executive team, a deal worth over $1 million. But after hearing about her experience, I'm questioning whether this is the right place for my business." Victor's face fell, the weight of the lost sale hitting hard. A deal of that magnitude would have crushed their quarterly targets. "Mr. Reed, I'm mortified," he stammered. "This isn't how we operate. Please, let us make this right." Jenna, who'd been hovering nearby, spoke up, her voice trembling but clear. "Ms. Harper was treated unfairly. She was polite, specific about the convertible, and ready to buy. Greg wouldn't even show it to her." Greg shot Jenna a venomous look, but the damage was done. Marcus nodded at her. "Thank you for your honesty." To Victor, he continued. "Ms. Harper runs Harper's Haven, a nonprofit that's empowered thousands of kids through tech education. She's raised over $40 million in the last decade alone. She chooses to dress simply because she values substance over flash, a choice your team mocked. You judged her worth by her outfit and lost her trust." Victor looked like he'd been slapped. "Mr. Reed, I assure you this doesn't reflect our values. We pride ourselves on—" "Actions speak louder than mission statements," Marcus interrupted. "I'll buy the convertible today, but only if Jenna handles the sale. She showed integrity, and I strongly suggest your team undergoes training on unconscious bias. My firm can recommend consultants." He paused, letting the silence weigh on them. "Additionally, Harper's Haven is hosting a fundraiser next month for a new coding academy. I expect your dealership to sponsor a table and send volunteers. It'll be a chance to see the impact of the work you dismissed." Greg, silent until now, looked physically ill, his usual swagger gone. "Mr. Reed, I'm so sorry," he began, his voice unsteady. "If I offended Ms. Harper—" "Save it," Marcus said, his tone final. "Your apology means nothing unless your behavior changes." He turned to Jenna. "Let's finalize the paperwork." As Marcus and Jenna headed to an office, Victor pulled Greg aside, his voice low and furious. "You've cost us a fortune, Greg. Fix this, or you're out." Over the next month, Greg's world shifted. The dealership implemented bias training, and Victor mandated that Greg volunteer at Harper's Haven's upcoming fundraiser. At first, Greg saw it as damage control, a way to save his job. But the experience began to chip away at his armor. The fundraiser, held at a waterfront venue, was a vibrant celebration of possibility. Teens who'd learned coding through Harper's Haven showcased apps and games they'd built, their pride infectious. Greg, wearing a volunteer vest, helped set up tables and assisted a 16-year-old named Diego, who used a prosthetic arm and had coded a racing game that rivaled professional titles. Diego's determination and his casual dismissal of Greg's initial awkwardness forced Greg to confront his own assumptions. Emily approached during a quiet moment, her simple green dress understated yet elegant. "How's it going, Greg?" she asked, her smile genuine. Greg met her gaze, no trace of his old arrogance. "It's humbling," he said. "These kids, like Diego, they're incredible. I misjudged you, Miss Harper. I'm sorry, not just for that day, but for how I've been. I thought I could read people, but I was blind." Emily nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Apologies are a start. What matters is what you do next. People aren't defined by their clothes or their titles. You're seeing that now." "I am," Greg said earnestly. "I've been working with Victor to overhaul our training. No, more judging by appearances. And I'm volunteering here beyond what's required. Diego's teaching me about coding. Says I'm hopeless, but he's patient." Emily laughed softly. "He's a tough coach. Keep at it, Greg." Marcus joined them, clapping Greg on the shoulder. "Heard you're becoming a fixture here," he said. "Diego speaks highly of you. Keep it up, and maybe we'll revisit." Those executive cars. Greg's eyes widened, but he only nodded, gratitude replacing his usual bravado. "Thank you, Mr. Reed. I'd be honored." As the night wound down, Emily watched the crowd. Kids laughing, donors inspired. And Greg, helping Diego tweak his game's graphics. She'd never needed the dealership's validation. Her worth was rooted in the lives she'd changed. But seeing Greg's transformation, however nascent, felt like a victory, not for her ego, but for everyone who'd ever been underestimated. True wealth, she knew, wasn't in the cars or the bank accounts. It was in the courage to see people for who they truly are beyond the surface. Weeks later, Greg sat in the dealership's break room reflecting. He'd misjudged Emily Harper, and it had cost him, not just in sales, but in pride. But the lesson was worth it. He thought of Diego, who'd texted him a new game demo that morning, and of the bias training sessions he was now leading for, new hires. For the first time, he felt he was selling more than cars. He was building something real. And that, he realized, was worth more than any commission. Thanks for watching the Pursuit Chronicles. If the story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because the pursuit never ends.